Imagine this. You have a fighter with power so legendary and a chin so durable that across over 300 amateur and professional bouts, he never once was dropped. And he stopped most of his opponents cold. I'm of course talking about Gennady Golovkin, aka Triple G. But decades before him, another warrior ruled the ring. A man with unmatched toughness, elite skills, and relentless aggression. He was so feared, it took over 40 professional fights before he even got a title shot. He wasn't just a fighter, he was Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I can't be the only one who sees these parallels, and it's got me wondering, what if these two titans met in their primes? To find out, let's break down their styles briefly and look at their resumes to see how they fared against similar opponents. Starting with Triple G. Triple G isn't just a puncher. He's a pressure fighter with elite footwork, but he's patient. He doesn't dance around the ring. He cuts it off, quietly, efficiently, and with purpose. He walks opponents down like a machine, forcing them into corners where his power becomes deadly. His jab is a weapon on its own, stiff, educated, and constantly disrupting rhythm. And once that jab lands, the real danger follows. A brutal cross, a snapping lead hook, and a rear hook that comes in tight and fast. Head, body, didn't matter. Golovkin threw with lethal intent and almost never missed. Every punch is accurate, economical, and aimed at vital targets. It reminds me of a certain UFC champion. And then, there's the chin. Triple G has taken bombs from heavy-handed fighters and walked right through them. He's willing to eat a shot to land two, and his ability to absorb punishment is legendary. Add that to 350 amateur fights, a foundation of experience that's shaped him into one of the most technically sound and dangerous middleweights in history. Let's look at Marvin Hagler and see how he compares. Hagler was a true switch hitter, dangerous from both stances, with power in either hand and the speed to let his combinations fly. His footwork was slick and smart. He could shift stances mid-attack, constantly changing angles and keeping pressure without ever wasting motion. Offensively, he was fluid and explosive, able to close the distance in a blink, and unload sharp, precise combinations. His jab was a piston, and his lead right hook was a weapon that most never saw coming. And, like Golovkin, Hagler was built to take punishment. He absorbed some of the hardest shots of his era without flinching, and often fired back harder. Defensively, he wasn't reckless. He could block, slip, and pivot out of danger, but he preferred to fight fire with fire. His offense was his defense, breaking opponents down mentally and physically by dragging them into deep, violent waters. Hagler didn't just box, he went to war, and more often than not, he came out the victor. With their skills broken down, let's take a look at their resume and see if they had any fights that encapsulated how this fight might go. For Triple G, the opponent that reminds me the most of Hagler that he has faced is Canelo Alvarez, particularly the first two fights they had. Canelo, a pound-for-pound great with elite defense, counterpunching, and serious power, was the perfect test for Golovkin's style, and Triple G did deliver. In their first fight, Golovkin walked Canelo down for 12 rounds, dictating the pace behind his jab and taking every counter that came his way. Many argue Triple G did enough to win, and I personally believe he did, but the judges did call it a draw. In the rematch, Canelo fought fire with fire. He stood his ground, traded shots, and pushed Triple G back at times, something few had ever done. Still, Golovkin never broke. He absorbed everything and kept coming, landing clean, accurate punches until the final bell. These two razor close fights, no knockdowns, no backing down. Through it all, Golovkin proved one thing. He could go 24 rounds with one of the best fighters of his era, and never once hit the canvas. So what about Hagler? The opponents I picked for him were Hearns and Duran. For Hagler, these two fights are some of the most defining in his legacy. Thomas Hearns and Roberto Duran. Against Hearns, Hagler stepped into what's widely considered the most violent 3 rounds in boxing history. From the opening bell, it was a war. Hearns came out blazing with his signature right hand and landed clean. Hagler just smiled and kept coming forward. He turned up the pressure, walked through the fire, and broke Hearns down with savage hooks and relentless bodywork. 3 rounds, 1 classic, 1 knockout. Against Duran, a master technician and a defensive genius, Hagler had to be patient. It was a chess match. He used his jab, shifted stances, and boxed with discipline, showing that he wasn't just a brawler. He went the full 15 and came out on top, outthinking and outworking one of the greatest minds in boxing history. 2 very different styles, 2 elite opponents, and Hagler proved he could outfight the puncher and outbox the strategist. So, who wins? Honestly, I see this being one of those fights, the kind that's hyped beyond belief, and in the early rounds, people start to wonder if it's going to live up to the expectations, only for it to explode halfway through into something unforgettable. The first few rounds, it's cerebral. Both Hagler and Triple G play the boxer, measuring distance, setting traps, showing flashes of violence but holding back just enough out of mutual respect for the other's power. But something snaps in round 6. Suddenly, out of nowhere, it's a war. A brutal, bloody brawl that feels like a middleweight version of Gennady Ward. The crowd is on its feet. The exchanges are fierce. Defense becomes survival, and neither man gives an inch. I see Triple G taking the early rounds behind his jab, controlling space, landing clean. Then Hagler starts turning the tide, picking up toss-up rounds with stance switches and sharper volume. After round 6, it's chaos. You might even see a rare 10-10 or 9-9 round on the cards. It's that close. But when it comes to those championship rounds, those deep waters, I have to give the edge to Hagler. He was built for the long haul. He thrived in 15-round fights, and he proved himself against a murderer's row of legends. And that's not to say Triple G isn't incredible. One of the best of his era. But he was a victim of his own dominance. Too many avoided him at his peak. And while he showed greatness, Hagler was forged in fire. So in the end, I see Marvelous Marvin Hagler winning by a narrow decision, maybe a split, maybe a unanimous, but never easy. If it's scheduled for 12, it's probably tighter of a decision. But if it's 15 rounds, I believe unanimous is more likely. A true war between 2 iron-chinned titans, and a fight for the ages. Now, before I close out, I just want to say that this is a very opinionated series, and I'm not claiming to be the definitive source on these debates. I'm just giving my 2 cents, and trying to make engaging videos, but also get people discussing and debating these kind of matchups, you know? These kind of debates keep legends alive long after they pass away or retire. With that said, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. Have a great rest of your day.